So welcome back to another video here in Pennsylvania, folks. And right behind me is a historical sign for what's known as the Sheppton mine disaster. It actually didn't occur right here at this spot where the sign is. It occurred maybe back that way, is a little bit further out there, but there is a memorial out there for the disaster and like a little grave marker for the one fellow whose body was never recovered. But the area now is posted and got the purple paint up everywhere, so I didn't really feel comfortable going back there. I guess I could get permission, but I didn't realize that it was going to be posted. But maybe I could get back there, or maybe I couldn't. But I almost decided just to leave. But then I realized I could still tell you the story of what happened here without actually being at the actual memorial site. So that's what we're going to do. But here is the historical sign itself. They got some giant pieces of coal down here. Sheppton Mine Disaster and Rescue. On August 27th, 1963, rescuers used a new technique to drill a borehole that successfully freed two coal miners trapped for nearly 2 weeks by a shaft cave-in 320 feet below the ground. One miner was lost, and the incident gained national attention and prompted more stringent safety regulations for small independent mines. The borehole technique has been widely used for mine rescues worldwide, notably at Quick Creek and Chile. Yeah, so imagine being trapped in a mine 300 feet below the surface for over 2 weeks, but that's what they had to endure. You know, pretty harsh conditions down there. There are 3 of them down there. I have their names here. David Felon was 58 years old. Henry Throne was 28 years old. Those are the 2 that were rescued. And the third one, Louis Bova, was 42 years old. He was the one that they never recovered his body from down in the mine where they were. Like I said, this is a new technique to rescue people by drilling like a borehole. They initially drilled a small borehole within a week because they were trapped down there for 2 weeks. I mean, the first week they were down there, they didn't have any food or water. I mean, maybe a little bit that were with them, but I don't think they probably were carrying any with them. So they had no food or water, no light. They had a little bit of light for a while, like on their headlamp, but that didn't last for so long. And they did try to find a way out, but you know, it was just too difficult for them. You can imagine being down there and then hearing and feeling the mine, entrance to the mine just collapse, and knowing you're trapped 300 feet below the surface. That would have to be just awful, absolutely awful feeling. But yeah, when the collapse occurred, Henry and David were able to stay together on one side of the tracks because there were tracks down there going into the mine. But apparently Louis got thrown to the other side, maybe not thrown, but ended up on the other side of the tracks. And they claim to have that they were in contact with him once or twice, but that's kind of disputed. We'll talk about why later. But when they initially they drilled just a smaller borehole down through the ground and sent a microphone down to see if they could hear anybody down there, and they did. I guess they could talk to the guys down there too, and they heard voices down there, and they knew that some of the guys were still alive. And then they attempted to drill a much larger hole, like a 17-inch hole, down to those guys. But that smaller borehole, the initial borehole they drilled down through, they got that drilled down within a week. You know, I think, why did it take so long? But they're drilling, you know, through solid rock, 300 feet through solid rock, and this is a new method they were using. But once they heard that there were people still down there, they were able to, of course, that brought fresh air down to the guys. They were able to send food and water to the fellas too, because they had been out a week without food or water. According to one source I read, they were, you know, sucking water out of tree bark, because in the mines they would use those wooden pillars to help hold the ceiling up. And sometimes they just used trees and cut down trees without taking the bark off, using those. So I guess they were some waterlogged trees down there being used as posts, and they were eating the bark and just like sucking the water out of it to get what they could from the stuff like that. So imagine that. That'd just be awful. But once they got that initial drill hole, they were able to send supplies down to the guys, which would be great for them, for their survival and for their morale as well. But within the following week, then, they were able to drill a much larger borehole, like 17 inches across, which is enough to get a body up through a person's body. So I guess it said they greased the guys up, or maybe they sent grease down. I don't know if they sent someone down. Maybe that's what they did to help the guys. They greased them up so they could fit up through the hole better. So that'd be kind of interesting. But the guys, yeah, they were rescued. David and Henry were rescued. They never found Larry or his remains. Not sure what happened to him. But like I said, back where the memorial is, there's like a little marker, a grave marker for a Louis Bova. I guess I should mention better where we are. Of course, here's the marker again. Down that way is the town of Sheppton. We're in Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania. Down there's Sheppton, and I believe up this way is the town of Oneida, they call it. And this right here is Schoolhouse Road. And then just down this way, around the curve, there's a little road that goes off that way. The memorial is off in the woods up that way. But like I said, it's all posted down this way, so wasn't sure. Just decided to play it safe and not head out that way. Although it'd be cool to see the memorial. But at least we get to see the historical marker and tell a story here. Sometimes you just gotta do what you can, folks. Like I said, I almost left. I was kind of discouraged because I wanted to get to where the memorial was for them. It's like a little white fence around Louis Bova's grave marker. But I decided, I was up at Sheppton, I turned around and said, you know, come back and tell the story anyway, even though we can't get to the site I wanted to. But yeah, as they were down there, they suffered a number of hallucinations, which I can imagine. I mean, it was horrible conditions down. Oh, it was also like about 30 degrees down there all the time, so it was cold down there. They did what they could to stay warm. They had to huddle together, like rub each other's legs, just to keep the blood going. They would like breathe, you know, hot air on their neck and stuff, try to warm themselves up. It was, imagine that. Just awful. But yeah, they suffer from hallucinations. I think they saw the Pope at one point, it was said, and I think other times they felt like they saw like miners' lights coming to rescue them, but then they kept getting smaller and smaller. So they're not sure if, like I said, they thought they were in contact with Louis several times, but they're not sure if they were, or if that was just more hallucinations, you know. So we'll never know, really. Like I said, never really recovered his body, which is unfortunate. Not really sure if he survived the initial collapse and died later. It's hard to know. And of course, the communities really rallied around this rescue. And these coal mining towns are really tight-knit communities. You know, coal mining disasters tend to be pretty common at times. So these people, like, they really rallied together to kind of make this happen. Of course, it kind of became an international news thing too. Showed all over the world, and different people got involved. I think the Howard Hughes, the one billionaire, helped support. Like I said, they had to drill those holes. It was kind of a new technique they never used before to try and get to these guys. So, picture, what would you do if you were stuck underground, 300 feet underground? That's like the length of a football field, just about. If you can picture that. What would you do for 2 weeks underground, stuck with someone else? Who would you choose to be stuck with? Picture that. I mean, or consider that in your mind. Just how would you survive? Like I say, within a week they did have supplies sent down. For that first week, it's cold, it's dark, you're hungry, you're thirsty. You don't even know if, the thing is, you don't even know if they're going to even try to rescue you. Do they even know that you're down there? You know, is anyone going to help? There'd be like a psychological thing going on in your mind too. So that's why when that microphone is flying lower and they could hear voices from up above, it'd be just a huge relief to them to know that people know they're alive. And just one other interesting little tidbit I'm going to throw out there. There was a song made. Oh, like this occurred in '63. This song, I forget when the song was made. It's called Timothy. It was by a group called The Boys. Bouy's, I think is how you spell their name. The song is on YouTube. Just type in Timothy song. And it's a song about 3 miners trapped underground. And in this song, only 2 of the miners survive. And the song goes on to explain how they survived, and there's a strong implication there that they survived because they ate the third person, whose name was Timothy. That's who the song is named after. So the group was questioned as to whether or not they made the song after this coal mining story. They denied it, but it's a bit intriguing though. If you want to listen to the song, it is on YouTube. It's called Timothy. I think if you just type in Timothy song and do a YouTube search, you'll find it. But just a warning, some of you might find the song a bit disturbing. I mean, it's not overly graphic, but I know some radio stations refused to play it because of what it was implying. Like I said, the writers of the song, the guys who sang it, denied that it had anything to do with this, but it's still, whether that's true or not, the song does give you a little bit of a glimpse into what it may have been like being stuck down there in that mine. I think the song starts out, 3 men trapped in a mine with no way out. Just imagine that, yeah. Anyway, what would you do to survive? All right, I think I'm going to let this one go, though, folks. I'm so glad I got to tell you the story. Like I said, I would have loved to have been to the memorial. Maybe it would have been okay for me to go there, but I just decided to play it safe. You never know. All right, but you can, if you want to learn more online. There is more to say about this story and like the drilling techniques and all that. You can find information online if you want. You just type in Sheppton mine disaster. All right, but our road trip is going to continue today. I'm going to head over into Columbia County, check out some old cemeteries, some covered bridges, and whatever else we find, folks. So, as always, thanks for coming along, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one, wherever that may be.